The Progressive Era.
The Progressive Era lasted from 1890 to 1920. It's a period where all sorts of reform measures were passed at the local, state, and federal level.
Women were active in many progressive issues, but they saw their efforts as extensions of their existing roles as nurturers and protectors, not rejections of these roles. They focused on issues like child labor, public health, food safety, voting rights, and factory safety, as many children and women worked in factories.
Let's take a look at some of the important moments of the Progressive Era women's movement.
On Saturday, March 25, 1911, the Triangle Shirtwaist Company in New York City went up in sudden blaze. The factory owners had locked the exit doors to prevent employee theft. 146 people died in the fire, most of them young immigrant women.
A public protest, including a massive strike by women in the needle trades, spurred a nationwide movement to pass stronger laws and regulations so such a tragedy never happened again.
Some court cases dealt directly with the issue of women's roles in the workplace.
In the 1808 case, Muller v. Oregon, the Supreme Court upheld the Oregon law that limited women laundry workers to 10 hours a day. The court's reasoning was that women needed special protection because they had different physical abilities and social roles than men.
The issue of women-only minimum wage came up in the 1923 case Adkins v. Children's Hospital. An all-male board established by Congress in 1918 created a separate minimum wage for women in the District of Columbia. In the case, the Supreme Court ruled a federal minimum wage legislation only for women was unconstitutional.
One of the arguments was that now that women have the right to vote, they are therefore legally the same as men, so that should be applied across all aspects of legal protection. 15 years after Muller v. Oregon, the court was more strictly equal in treating gender under the law.
Two notable women in the Progressive Era are Jane Addams and Margaret Sanger.
Jane Addams was born on September 6, 1860, to a wealthy family. While traveling through London, Addams learned about settlement houses, which served as community centers and offered social services to the less fortunate. Addams made it her personal mission to open a settlement house in the United States, which she helped found in Chicago in 1889. She won a Nobel Peace Prize for her activism in 1931.
Another progressive reformer was Margaret Sanger, a lifelong advocate of family planning.
Margaret Sanger was born in 1879 in Corning, New York, to devout Roman Catholic parents. Her mother's 18 pregnancies would have a profound impact on Sanger, who watched her mother's physical and mental health deteriorate from her childbearing and eventual death due to tuberculosis.
Sanger believed that society did not know enough about women's health and childbearing. Specifically, she thought people didn't understand the emotional and physical impact pregnancy can have on a woman. So Sanger worked to give women some control over how many children they had.
On October 16, 1916, Margaret Sanger opened the first family planning clinic in Brooklyn. She was not exactly met with open arms within the community.
The notion that women should be in control of if, when, and how many children they had went against the traditional thinking of the day, which was essentially this: women are magical baby factories!
9 days after opening her clinic, it was raided by police. Sanger was sentenced to serve 30 days in prison. She went on to form the National Committee on Federal Legislation for Birth Control, serving as its president until its dissolution in 1937. By then, many states had legalized birth control under medical supervision.
One of Sanger's last missions came during the early 1960s with the advent of the birth control pill. She toured the world educating people on this new form of birth control. Margaret Sanger's lifetime work allowed women more choices and control over their bodies.